What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bold Voices. I'm Angela Belcamino. So excited for our show tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you wouldn't mind, we would love it if you would share, repost the stream. We want to get as many folks up in here as possible to join us in our conversation, our open dialogue, and to get to know our special guest tonight, who I'm so excited about. Get it out there. Let's chat. What's up, Hannah Griff? What's up, Bobby? Oh my God, we're so excited. We're so excited. I see that you guys are excited. So please chat with us. We want to see your comments, your questions, your feedback. We love interacting with the chat. I will bring some of those messages up on screen. If you have questions for Adam Johnson, the Lectern guy, he is here. We have amazing panelists with us here tonight, Madeline, Elizabeth, and Jay. Let's get it going. Let's chat. Welcome, my amazing panel, special guest, Adam Johnson, the Lectern guy, Jay, Madeline, Elizabeth. So excited to have you three and chat. Adam, you have a lot of nicknames. We've got the Lectern guy, podium guy. We'll talk about the others. I think there's like a sandwich and soup aficionado. All the things. You have a lot of hats, a lot of things. But do you have a favorite nickname or a least favorite nickname of all of them?
Oh man, my favorite is probably Via Getty, and that's deep in the weeds. When everything first popped off, people saw the image online, and it was Via Getty. So people thought my name was Via Getty, but it was actually Getty Images taking my photo. And like, that's a terrible name to name someone. Why would you name your son Via Getty? So that's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, no, that is good. I'm glad I didn't actually. That makes sense because of Getty Images, but that's really good. That's classic. So you're well known for going viral, for carrying Nancy Pelosi's lectern around the Capitol building on January 6th. What was your experience? I mean, so one of my favorite things about doing streams and podcasts and interviews is to get to know people better, because we were sort of talking about this beforehand. People see an image like that and they create a whole narrative about who you are and, you know, everything like, but so I love actually getting to hear people's stories, their journey, more about them, so that people get a better picture of you. And you've probably had to relive this a lot, but for those of us who haven't heard, anything you want to share about like kind of where you were at leading up to that day, your experience on that day? Did you have any idea in that moment that this image was going to end up where it has?
No, that was not the intention. That was not the reason I went. I was actually pretty apolitical leading up to January 6th. I'd listened to some podcasts for a couple of years, and I'm more libertarian than anything else. I believe in property rights. People should be able to do what they want with their bodies. Kids are. Oh, hi Hannah. People are as adults can do things they want to do. I'm not really invested in changing people what they do with their day-to-day lives. So leading up to January 6th, very libertarian. I go up there because I hear it's the last rally that's going to happen for Trump. Trump has lost his election, whether you believe there was shenanigans or not. That's a different conversation. But I went up there because it was the last rally and it was going to be some history. So showed up, bought a plane ticket, did 3 legs to get there because all the planes are booked out. And showed up to a rally, first Trump rally I went to ever. Last one actually as well. And just one thing led to another. People were walking inside. I found myself inside through some open doors. Saw the lectern sitting out and open. Didn't break down a door. I thought, man, this would be a great prop for a photo. Never been in the Capitol. I nailed it because obviously people enjoy the photo or hate the photo, but either way, it was shared a lot. And the rest, I guess, is history, literal history.
How did your family and friends react when your face kind of showed up everywhere?
Well, given it was 2020 and politics really became tumultuous and very, very partisan during those years, a handful of my friends who leaned one way had a very different opinion than the others that leaned the other way. So we lost a lot of long-term friends.
Hmm.
I didn't blame them either because, when we were in that space of cancel culture, and if you're on, the side that I'm not on, you'll lose your job, you'll lose your funding, you'll lose basically your livelihood. I don't blame them for taking a step back and being like, I can't be associated with you. This is also when the FBI was breaking down doors and forcing people inside of their homes. So, there's no animosity that exists between me and my friends of 2 decades. And the other side of it, they were very supportive, but also like, man, that was a really stupid idea. And I was like, well, I never said I had good ideas. I just kind of Forrest Gump my way through these things sometimes.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a very in the moment thing. It wasn't. I don't know. From what you're saying, it doesn't sound like it was a premeditated. It was kind of in the moment, and it was there. And when you're in the moment like that, you don't necessarily think through what's going to happen or.
Well, you don't. So I mean, the Capitol's been, and this is it's the verbiage, right? It's the Capitol's been protested in, I mean, how many times since 2021 January 6th? I mean, at least a dozen times. And we don't call those things insurrections. And there is a difference between what happened for the protest afterwards compared to January 6th, because there were people assaulting police officers, which I have been vehemently against. You can't hit a cop. Don't do that. Not a good thing. Not a good look. Don't break windows. Don't break in. But if you're talking about 95% of the people who just walked in the building and left, it's the same type of protest we've seen a dozen times afterwards. So my look's always been at, like, we should preserve the right to protest regardless of what side of the fence you're on, because that's a constitutional right. And this idea that when you have your people in power, if you are willing to give them power to exercise authority that you wouldn't want exercised over you, on a long enough timeline, that power will be exerted against you. So we should be very careful about when we champion on ideas and things that are unconstitutional, because it's all about keeping the power to the people and making sure our constitutional rights are defended at every step of the way.
So how how have you been able to navigate this mix of reactions, whether it's friends, family, the online, everyone? It's obviously a mix, right? Probably a lot of support, a lot of admiration, people laughing, thinking it's the greatest thing, and then also a lot of criticism and backlash. What was that like for you navigating all of that afterwards?
Well, I think if you look at the January 6th population as a whole, and then under a microscope, you have a handful of people who weren't good people before they showed up, and then did something that the colloquial left can look at and say they're not good people, and the right will champion. I wish they would have gone further. And if you look at me, the FBI came and talked to all of my family, my friends, even my ex-wife, and exactly zero people had things to say bad about me, because I'm generally just a nice guy. Like, I try to do my best raising my kids. I try to do the best for my community, and navigating it was I don't want to say it was as difficult as other had, because I had a good support system. I had my faith, my family, my friends, and without them, I don't know where I would be. So I'm eternally thankful for them. But I think it's really about taking a step back and saying, you need to live a life beyond reproach. Because if you're ever faced with the circumstances that I was in, the things you did in the past, the people, the person you were, the person you want to be, the person you are being, will come out to light. So just try to be a good person through it.
When I've seen you have a really positive way of embracing, everything, whether we all make mistakes, all of that. It's part of being human. Things that whatever, we wish we could change or whatever that might be. I feel like you have such a good you have such a good sense of humor. And you have such a nice smile. It's so warm. That's something. And it's, even more so interacting with you virtually and not just seeing photos, but, of just really kind of owning things. And I know accountability is something that you talk about that's important to you, something we in here talk about a lot. And I think we all also really value that. So I'm sure it hasn't been easy, but I also saw you post about if these things were ever to come out about me, I'm just gonna put them out there now because I know you're running for Manatee County Commissioner, which we're going to talk about too. So you're right, like things could come out, get exposed. I love the whole, I also really try to do the self-deprecation thing where you're just like, I'm going to own it before, it's for me, it's like my forehead. People always come at me with forehead jokes. So I'm like, yep, I give the best forehead. That's right. So I love that, you have that approach with everything. I think that that's really nice modeling for others.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of it, I mean, they're giving us likes and comments and sharing our stuff. So, I mean, bring the hate, I get paid for it. I mean, that's the model.
Exactly. I love that. More people need to hear that, I think. So I love that you do that you say that. I think that that's really lovely.
Yeah, and
What
I don't block people either. I have a lot of people that come in and want to say negative things or, call me a terrorist or a traitor. And it's like, look, I truly do believe in free speech. My page is completely open. Bring your opinions, make your comments. I'd love to have a conversation. But if it's based in just hate, like this is not a conversation. But if you have genuine questions, I will answer them to the best of my ability. I will do my best to explain where I'm coming from, where I'm going, and why I think I am right. And accountability is a big thing as well. Like, I mean, I did go to prison. I did plead guilty to misdemeanor trespassing. I do think that a prison sentence for misdemeanor trespassing is really outside of what normal procedure looks like. So that's definitely something we should cover because it's the same thing. It's like when people protested Kavanaugh's hearings for SCOTUS, this is back in what I think 2018. There was 50 people who were doing similar things that happened in the Capitol, banging on doors, disrupting an actual federal process, a hearing. They got a $50 fine and they were told to go home. That's what happened. So if we're talking about precedent and keeping things equal, fair, and actually representing justice, I think that's what should have been exercised for the 95% of the population of January 6th. And that's where a lot of my issues stem from. It's not so much of is what we did the right thing or the wrong thing. That's neither here nor there. What we did was exercise the constitutional right to protest something that we had every right to protest. But protest does not include breaking down doors, breaking windows, assaulting police officers. It doesn't include those things. And I've actually I've steel manned the BLM group several times over the past couple of years, where I said, BLM gets a bad rap. There was over $2 billion worth of damage done. There were, property set on fire. There were autonomous zones, but that is about 5% of the population who showed up for those protests. And whether you agree or not with their protest and what they were protesting is irrelevant. They had a right to show up and march and speak, hold their signs, and say, "I don't agree with the process that is happening right now." And that's really what I try to, and a lot of people on the right really, really hate that. Like, how can you defend BLM? It's not that I'm defending BLM. I'm defending your constitutional right to show up and march and say, I don't like how things are going. But I want the same grace and mercy giving to my side as well. If that, I try to draw that line because I think it's best for everyone to recognize that the government is not your friend. they're not on your side. They're looking forward to taking away more of your rights, more of the things you can and cannot do. So we should really try to find things that we have in common more often than not in common.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's super. Yeah, that you incorporate the balance, like a balanced perspective, and I think that some really, really good points that I wish you're able to. And that's kind of where I'm at as well. Is I'm able to call things out on both sides. Like I've seen extremes on the right, extremes on it's not. Like you said, it's not black and white. It's not right or wrong. It's not that. So it should be applied to every situation. And it sounds like, yeah, it felt unfair, the consequences in your case versus other people in a similar situation.
Yeah, if you want to protect justice, you want to protect the system and say the system is working, it's in place, and we should trust it, then we should have fair rules on both sides. And political party, political class is not a protected class at all. And I really think we're getting to a point where it might need to be. It might need to be.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that ever hits the light of day for the Supreme Court.
Yeah, well, you talked about precedent. I think precedent is so important. And I used to work on a college campus holding students accountable who violated college policies. And it was very important to me and our office to, in a similar situation, the same sort of consequences or sanctions apply. I think,
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's what we all want.
Yeah.
Nobody feels good about the fact that, whatever the consequences doesn't fit the crime.
Yep. On the note of college, so when I was on federal probation for a misdemeanor, I tried to go back to college because the options are to get full-time employment. I have 5 kids. I raise them every day of my life. There's a home cooked breakfast and home cooked meal 7 days a week. We do homework together. I'm very involved in acting my kids' life. So, working a 40-hour work week was not something that was feasible with the size of the family that I have. So I was like, oh, I'll go back to college and finish my degree. My college rejected my application to go back. And they said it was because of who I was. They said, we're not sure if it's safe to have you on campus. Granted, it's a nonviolent crime.
Right.
I have a 3.95 GPA. Before everything happened, I was asked to do, conferences, speak for events. I have my background psychology, neuropsychology specifically. So it's a very nonpartisan thing. We're just talking about the human brain and how we all operate under it, and people deal with different things. But they told me no, and I had to wait for a year until my probation was up. But they have people at that same college who have assaulted women, who have brought guns on campus, who have cheated on exams, who are still allowed to go to that college. And it's about removing the bias of politics and saying, listen, either the crime is the reason why you can't come here, or it's the politics.
Mm-hmm.
And making it about the politics is, I think, the actual crime.
That's a great point. Right. Because if it's not a violent offense, yeah, I mean, essentially it's trespassing, right?
It's
How,
trespassing. And
um,
trespassing only because I walked through the wrong door. It is a public building. I've been there 6 times since. There is a door you should go through. I've never been to the Capitol. I didn't know that was a thing. So I did learn my lesson. I go through the right door every single time now.
yeah, well,
So I guess justice works. Exactly one prison reformed person.
oh boy. So speaking of that, is it 75 days that you spent in
Yes.
prison?
So I did
Wow.
4 days in county for the initial arrest and isolation, and then 71 days in federal prison in Colburn, which is Central Florida. 18 of those days were also in isolation.
Wow. How I don't it's a weird question to ask, but how was your experience? What was, I mean, the worst part about it for you?
Um, I I love my family very, very much. I have not been away from my family longer than 2 or 3 days across 12 years. So not seeing my kids, not being there when they wake up, not telling them I love them before they go to school, not being there when they come home. I mean, I'll never get that time back. And while I was in prison, it was during COVID, so they weren't doing visitation like they normally were.
Mhm.
And typically, the way it works is they do 20 people per unit. You can see your families on the weekends, but they had it down to only 2 or 3 people per unit could see their families. And because I was in such a short time, I actually gave up my time for other inmates who were in there, hadn't seen their family in a year, to be able to see their families because I was going to be home within 2.5 months. So, I learned a lot about the prison system and the people that are there. And a large part of my platform is about prison justice reform. We're not trying to reform people. It is a cyclic thing that we do. When we send people to prison and we say justice is A, B, and C, and A is you go to court, you have a trial, B is your sentence, C, you carry out the sentence. But everything after that, that hangs with you, that sticks with you.
Mhm.
We were talking about in Florida, if you are a felon, there are dozens of vocations that are licensed at a state level, you no longer can do. So even like a hairdresser, if you are a felon for something like, I don't know, you got a DUI, which again, I don't support, but if you had a DUI 10 years ago, it was a felon, you didn't murder someone, you went to jail for 2 years, now you're a felon, you should be able to cut hair. You should be able to be an electrician, to be a plumber. So this is definitely something that I'm trying to talk about at a state level, where people do need to be able to get to work and get back to their lives, because either prison works, either the justice system works, or it does not, right? So to reconcile those two things, I definitely think it needs to be a larger conversation that we have, because we can't. I mean, we also can't have the system of, the bail system where we're just letting everyone loose on the streets. We've obviously seen the detriment to that, to our communities, to innocent people across the entire country. So that system doesn't work either. But I think the happy middle ground is, if justice works, if sentencing works, if we believe that the system we have in place does work, then when you are done, you have paid your debt to society, and you should be able to live your life as someone who has paid your debt to society.
Absolutely. I love that you're talking about this and that you're passionate about it for obvious reasons. Before I moved back to Florida, because we're both in Florida, it's something else topic of conversation, but I just moved back. I'm originally from Florida, but I moved back in August. I was living in New York City for the past 13 years, and I was working in an alternative to incarceration program
Beautiful.
with young people 16 to 27 who had criminal legal charges, and they were doing our program in lieu of jail time, but a lot of them had spent time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really difficult seeing the limitations. Like, they wanted to get jobs, and because of the background check, were limited. And so it really does stick with you, that record.
It
and
does.
you do the time, but it's never really over.
Yeah, and it's not just the so private businesses should have a right to know who they're hiring. So this is where it kind of gets into the libertarian cycle, where it's, if I own a business, I should know who is operating, working at my business, but it shouldn't preclude someone from being able to work in that business. So it comes down to the people who are running businesses, and are they good people as well? And you can't legislate that. You can't make a law to tell people who they can and can't hire. They should have a right to understand who they're hiring. But how do we promote information? How do we promote some type of policy where it's like, these people aren't terrible people. Most of these kids get picked up when they're juveniles, and once you're a juvenile, and this is, we could talk for an hour just about the juvenile criminal justice system.
Right.
Just when you get picked up as a juvenile, you are basically on track to spend the majority of your life in and out of jail, the rest of your life. And most of these kids, I mean, the prefrontal cortex is not developed until 25. So
Mhm.
most of these kids, for lack of a better term, I'm sorry, are kind of retarded, because they're not actually full grown adults yet. They're not. So to hold them accountable as adults for the rest of their life, I think it's actually a severe injustice. And all you're doing is perpetuating a system to keep them in that cycle, in that process. And then you look at fatherless homes, you look at, they've not had any hard studies of the IRB, because they won't actually publish these things, but they're indicators that if you have one parent who goes to jail or serves time, the children are more than likely, I think it's up to 60-70%, to actually also serve time. So it's this, it's the war on drugs, it's picking up dads. I mean, it's a very long conversation that I think that we're missing kind of the heart and core of
Mhm.
it. And I think what it comes down to is that we try to legislate morality, and you cannot legislate morality. It does not work. You cannot force people to be good people. What you need to do is have societal pressure to say, it is good to be a good person. It is good to be a nice person. It's good to be a loving person. You should raise your children. You should be involved with your kids. It is more beneficial for you to be a good man, raise your children, than to leave your spouse, to have an affair, to be someone who lives an immoral life. And we're missing that dialogue. And a lot of it is, it's all about the punishment. It's all about you're a terrible person. I'm a Christian. I believe in grace. I believe in mercy. But at some point, we also need to understand that we speak in truth and love. And being truthful means being honest. And there are ways that we live our lives that are detrimental, that have an impact on future generations. And we need to wake up and realize it's not about us. It's not about us. It's about our kids. It is about the future generations. If we want to preserve any modicum of what we believe America should look like, whether you're left or right, we should be raising our families to live moral lives.
Yeah, I mean, you raised some really good points in terms of it, should be more rehabilitative, provide more resources rather than just being punitive, because we're not really addressing the problem if we're not helping people learn from things or get counseling or whatever resources they might need to be successful and make better decisions. So yeah, those are some really good points. I want to go to the chat. We have some things, but so AI Council says we lawyers are all just glad nobody called you podium guy, but people did call you podium guy, right?
That was one of the initial monikers. Yes. They were directly yeah, I'm dead named now. I'm no longer a podium guy. I'm definitely the lectern guy. A lectern is something you speak behind. A podium is something you stand on top of. So
there you go. And GOB said, what rights? Could you give an example? But I'm not sure what we were talking about at that time. So if you want to provide more info, I don't remember what we were saying about which rights.
He was talking about preservation of free speech and right to protest.
Yes. So protest rights there. So that's another can of worms. So we can take a couple examples. So in Florida, there were some pro-Palestinian protests that were happening on college campuses. And the reason why they were shut down is because they were blocking walkways, which is someone's right of way to be able to get to their class, which is not protected speech. You cannot hinder someone's ability to go somewhere and do something. State of Florida, same thing. If you block streets, people can get to work. That's now, I think it's a felony now, which I think is a bridge too far. We should be making felons on something that simple. And it's not that it's that simple. It's probably bad wording. Something that is that can be dealt with a couple of troopers just moving cars out of the way. I think a felony is too much. I think a large fine would be sufficient, in my opinion. And honestly, there's enough money cycling through paid protesting to pay those fines. We saw it in 2020. But as far as showing up to public buildings, federal buildings, you're allowed to protest. I encourage protest. There's a reason why it's the First Amendment. It's our entire country was founded on. We don't like how things are going. We're going to talk about these things. We're going to gather. We're going to meet and say things aren't going well. Let's protest this thing. Let's get together and get some better ideas and see if we can't push those forward.
Yes. But it does, right? I think the whole question coming up right now as well with what's going on in Minneapolis, et cetera, is peaceful protesting, right? Not violence, like you said, not attacking cops or ICE agents, peaceful protesting. So absolutely. Manny says, rock on.
Minneapolis has every right to protest ICE being in there and saying, we don't want you here. Whether you agree with it or not, they have every right to do that. They absolutely do. You cannot barricade roads and stop public access, people getting to work. You can't do that, right? There are forms of protest that are legal. Supreme Court's ruled on this. It's always, I have a 72-hour rule when it comes to breaking news, especially when it comes to things like, it was, who was it? It was Pretty and Good, who both lost their lives because they were protesting. And, I use the word protesting because I think initially that is where it started. I think it definitely escalated after that fact. We saw a video of I think it was Renee Good, and after the body cam footage came out, it's like, oh, she did turn into him. The wife was encouraging this behavior, and I don't celebrate the loss of life. I think it's always a tragedy if you have to give your life. It's the same thing with Ashley Babbitt. Like, it is a shame that she was shot. It was a shame that Renee Good was shot. It's a shame that we are at this tumultuous of a point that we can't have a conversation and find common ground. But in the same point, it's like, I told I was texting my coach on January 6th as I'm walking down to the Capitol. And I said, I saw the National Guard for, I wonder if they're going to have, rubber bullets or actual ammunition. Like, we understood that we may be shot for being there. It was a very difficult time for the country. In the same way that Ashley Babbitt lost her life, in the same way Renee Good lost her life. I mean, you have to understand that these consequences may exist if you choose to engage in federal officers in this way. And whether you agree or disagree, that is the reality. And that's a really difficult line to draw, but I try to be consistent.
Yeah. No, I definitely appreciate that. Craigslist said, did you experience any leftist Lib Dem treatment or backlash from the prison staff or administration? Interesting question.
I don't think that I experienced it any more or less than any other prisoner that was there. There are good COs and there are bad COs. That is definitely a black and white. And I actually ran into one of my COs, I want to say 3 or 4 weeks ago in St. Pete. I was doing a podcast with the Drinking Bros, and he was in the crowd. He's like, "Oh my God, I was your CEO." And I was like, "Yeah, I remember you." But he was one of the nice ones. You know, there are some CEOs that will, they'll accuse you of running shop. Do you know what running shop is?
Commissary? Like
That's
running
it.
commissary? Like selling stuff? Yeah.
Yep. So they have limits onto how many things you can buy per item, and they'll sell out. And the issue is they will shut off your commissary for 6 weeks and just not feed you. They'll just not feed you. It'll be down to 1 meal a day, even though federally it's supposed to be 3 meals a day. But other prisoners will take all of the food from the kitchen and then sell it on the side on the weekends. So you have to buy bulk commissary if you want to eat. Some CEOs are in on the racket, and they will come in and they will take all of your food, all of your supplies, and accuse you of running shop. I witnessed multiple people going to the SHU, which is the special housing unit, isolation, because they had 11 bags of tuna instead of 10. And like, we're just trying to eat. I lost 25 pounds in prison across 75 days.
Wow.
Like, yeah, and I mean, I was not in bad shape when I went in either. It was just a lot of muscle that I lost, but that's the process. So I wouldn't say it was better or worse. I would say it was status quo.
You said that you did spend some time in isolation, right?
I did.
Do you mind sharing how come or why?
I was not vaccinated when I went into prison. So I won't soapbox too much. Before I got there, the way it worked was if you were unvaccinated, there was a 30-day lockdown mandatory. And every time a new prisoner came in, they would reset that timer. So there were some people who spent like a year in lockdown, could not leave their unit at all. So when I got there, they got it down to 5 days. So anyone new coming in, it's prison. So people are always coming into prison. That's the process. So every couple of days, someone new would come in and the timer would reset. So it was 18 days in isolation. I read a lot of books. I did a lot of push-ups, prayed a lot, and wrote a lot.
Wow. So talk to us about the day that you were pardoned by President Trump. How did you feel in that moment?
Well, this is also something I get a lot of guff for. I had already been to prison. I was actually in DC for the inauguration, and I had a problem with blanket pardons for a handful of reasons. One, I do think that everyone who was given like 22 years for assaulting a police officer. That's not the standard. That's not the precedent we ever want to set. Most people get 6 months or probation and anger management courses. To get 18 years for it, I think is unjust. So I definitely think a commutation of sentence was absolutely necessary. But with the blanket pardons also came, if you accept pardons, you cannot appeal your charges. I know a handful of people that simply just patted officers on the back and said, "Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing your job." That got assault charges on officers. They can't appeal that. They can never clear their name now because they're pardoned. You've accepted that whatever crime you were charged of, that's the crime you're guilty of, but you're pardoned now. So I had a problem with pardons from day one. I didn't need one. I had been to prison. I paid my fine. I did my community service. I did my year of probation. I pissed in a cup more than I should have for a non-drug crime, even though I don't do drugs. So it was moot at the end of it. I actually still have not applied for my pardon yet. So
It's there.
yeah, that's actually what did it. Yeah, they're like, oh, he's a hippie. He's probably one of those dirty stoners.
What would you say to people who are still angry because they exist, that are still angry about January 6th? I know some of these people, so I'm speaking to them. I would love to. Is there anything that you would say to people who are angry about January 6th, or things that you think are misunderstood or need to be said in relation to that?
I think it's a matter of separating wheat and chaff, right? There are people that you can be angry at. Like, again, assaulting police officers, that's not law and order. That's not what I voted for. It's not what you voted for. So you can definitely harbor, some ill will, some, some cautious preserve to these people. That's completely fine. But if you want to be consistent, protesting is okay. And people who are nonviolent, who show up and you may not agree with them, be consistent. Be consistent. It is okay to protest, and to lump people in together. I liken it to, imagine you are at a football game, right? I don't go to football games, so imagine you are at a football game, right? And someone across the field in a nosebleed seat starts, gets in a fight, starts assaulting someone, right? Am I responsible for what's happening across the stadium? Am I lumped in the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine an entire riot breaks out, right? Now we're talking about, like fewer degrees of separation. You were there that day. I get that. To lump everyone into generalized things, I think, is always the common issue that we run into when it comes to politics. Because you support A, you must also support B, C, D, E, and F. I'm fine with protesting. I'm fine with showing up. Have your voice heard. But to everyone who's like, you shouldn't have gone inside. Well, the doors were open. I didn't break a door down. If there were a charge for that, if that actually happened, I would have been convicted of that. They convicted everyone of everything, literally everything. If that happened, I would have been charged. I would have been found guilty of it. There would have been video of it. There would have been evidence of me doing something like that. There is none. There's absolutely zero. And even to that point, to be charged with felony theft for moving furniture, they withheld evidence, video evidence of me just picking it up in an open space and moving it 20 feet for years. For years. That's exculpatory evidence. They messed with my entire judicial process. It violated so many of my rights. I mean, it's you should know what you're talking about before you're angry. I think that's the biggest message. I think everyone has a right to draw conclusions, but you should be drawing conclusions from facts, from reality, and from actual evidence. Don't just be partisan. Don't just be on one side or the other. Understand what you're talking about. Know where you're coming from, because if someone asks you a question and you can't articulate why you believe what you believe, you do a disservice to the position that you're taking.
Yeah, very well said. We talk a lot. I am very passionate about the lumping things into categories as well. The problem there, the black and white, all or nothing, no gray. And same thing with ICE agents, for example, or law enforcement. We've been talking a lot about that all ICE agents are evil because of the actions of some, like the ones who are doing something wrong should be held accountable. But it's a case by case basis. Everyone's story, everyone's situation is different. It should not just all be viewed as they're all monsters, right?
A lot of ICE agents are immigrants who came here legally and have citizenship. So obviously there's a percentage of them that believe in legal immigration. I believe in legal immigration. I have no problem with bringing over people to help our country. There's nothing wrong with that. I think in the immigration argument, I always, so the idea is we're bringing over the best and brightest. Let's just take that at face value. Let's say that's true. What we're doing from countries who have not emerged, who are not first world countries, is we're taking their best and brightest, which means they will never emerge. So we're keeping them in this perpetual state of, India does not have clean water. Like they have the majority of the population are poverty stricken. And if we're taking all of the H-1B visas, the best and the brightest, we're actually doing a disservice to India on a very long timeline. I have a handful of issues with immigration. I do think that it should be open for people who are seeking like true asylum. We're talking about, people from South Africa who are being murdered for being white. They should be able to claim asylum to come here. We're talking about citizens from Iran who are being slaughtered for not liking the regime that's in place. Like there are places for people to come here that actually should be able to claim asylum and seek the safety of America. We are that country. We should be that country. But the open borders policy, we'll give you amnesty because it's been 20 years and you've not committed a crime. I'm sorry, like either there is a process or there is not a process. And if we're all required to follow a process, then that's what we should do. And again, I was told trespassing was a crime. I went to prison for it. So maybe we can have that same type of concept for people who come here illegally. I don't know. Maybe be consistent.
It sounds fair to me. Again, I don't know why we talk about a lot of things that seem like they should be common sense or common ground between us, but it just isn't like that. Unfortunately, like a lot of things, right? Just they make sense, sounds reasonable, sounds fair. I like it. But yeah, unfortunately, people are all over the place. But I like what you're saying. Yeah. So I know, Jay, you had some questions. I've kind of hijacked this entire thing. So did you want to throw any questions?
Your show. Yeah, it's thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for turning this into a positive. Thank you for running for office and trying to make your community a better place. I know that's not the easiest thing to do. I know that's not the easiest way to serve, and putting yourself out there is it's a big leap. So thank you for doing that. It's kind of wild what they did to you guys. And for a lot of us, watching this from the outside is why we got involved in politics. Like I really wasn't involved in politics at all prior to this. I voted, whatever, like I followed things or whatever. But like in terms of like me getting involved in the Trump campaign, like I campaigned for you guys was a big part of what it was, because we felt powerless. We felt, from the outside, we felt like we needed to help you guys because what was going on is really bad. And I had friends that didn't even go into the Capitol that were there on January 6th that had their homes raided by FBI agents, like literally had their home, like they didn't even go inside. And they had their homes raided, which is absolutely insane. But the thing is like, for me, I don't believe that the left grew a conscience in the last few years, right? I don't think that they did. And I think that, in terms of like 2028, if say they win the presidency or whatever, like I'm really fearful for what happens next. And I don't, you're talking about the free speech thing and stuff like that. I think that it looks a lot more harsh than it did then. And I think they learned their lesson, and I think they're coming back with vengeance. And so that's why I take it so seriously that, people like you, principled people like you that are running for office, talk to us about that and like what led you into the decision to run for Congress or for your city council, right?
County commissioner.
County
commissioner. Yeah, awesome. Local action. Talk to us about your drive to get involved and drive to make positive change.
Well, I have no desire to run for a national office, and it stems from I don't think real good can be done at a congressional level or a senatorial level. I think it's I try not to black pill too much. It's a real pill, whatever color that is. We'll call it a green pill, I guess. You have to rub so many elbows and befriend so many people that you would not do so in your regular life on the way up there. And local politics to me, it's my backyard. It directly affects me. It directly affects my kids. It directly affects, my grandkids. Hopefully they'll live close to me. I get to see them on the weekends. The local campaign is when you make decisions at a local level, you have to answer for those when you're grocery shopping. You have to answer for those when you're having, lunch with your kids on a Sunday at First Watch. So you're actually in many more ways more accountable than running for a national office. When you run for a national office, you can just flee the city that you ran in, the county you ran in, the district you lived in, and just live in DC, 12 months out of the year and have a primary residence in the district that you ran in. And, I'm a person who, for all of my faults, I think the biggest one is I actually want to have a legacy. And whether that's a streak of narcissism or just I want to do good, I guess people will find out. But I want to be more than just a picture. Like I mean, truth be told, I'm going to be in history books. That's not coming from a conceited place. Like that picture will exist forever. But I want a legacy built off of that. I was given a modicum of infamy, and a lot of people have used it to do a handful of things, that are here and there both. And my thought's always been I should be who I was before that photo, and I should continue to be that person through it. And that person is someone who actually loves my backyard, loves my community, and wants to make sure that, whatever happens in my backyard is good for all of us. Because local politics, it should be nonpartisan. Like, we all drive on the same roads. Our kids go to the same schools. We enjoy the same parks. We pay the same taxes. Our community should not be something that is, left or right. It should be something that our funds are coming in. We want to make sure that all of us are taken care of, because community is not political, or at least it shouldn't be. So that's the reason why I chose local and not, state level or national level.
I love that. Are you from Florida originally? Just out of curiosity.
I am a Navy brat. So born in Tennessee, went to Virginia, and then down to Pensacola, Florida. But I was in Pensacola when I was 5 and stayed in Florida since then. So I claim to be a Floridian. Been here a little over 35 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
We have that in common. I'm back. I did a little stint in New York City. Well, not little, like 12, 13 years in New York City. I'm happy to be back in Florida. I'm loving it, particularly the weather right now. So
yeah, we had a big windstorm down where I live this past weekend. It was 20, 30 mile an hour winds just ripping through.
Yeah. So I'm going to take this question from Hannah. Local politics are, her comment. Local politics are so overlooked in general political conversations. Good for you for getting involved. Yeah, we have talked about that. I know Madeline is passionate about that as well, has talked about that also. So I think that's wonderful. What are you seeing, I guess, in your community around you that are sort of some of the local issues that you're most passionate about right now?
Well, so the district I'm running for is at large. So it's the entire county. It's not just, one small subsect of the county. And we have tens of thousands of people. We have some of the number 1 ranked beaches in the world. So it's a very high, tourism place. And with that comes a lot of development. People are leaving New York. They're leaving California. They're leaving Michigan. I mean, we have a lot of transplants coming here. And we really can't slow down people from moving here. As a matter of fact, our Rick Scott and Byron Donalds and all these people are saying, come to Florida. They're running ads all over the place. So we can't stop them from coming here. But with new residents, what you do is you kind of offset the local voting blocks. You have a lot more developments. Infrastructure is about 20 years behind in my county. So we have terrible traffic problems. Most of our schools are working out of, trailers, that can only exist for 3 years before they have to be removed. So our infrastructure is lacking. And a lot of people want to blame the new transplants that have come to Manatee County, but we live in a beautiful place. They're going to come here. And the real issue is we've mismanaged our funds. We've mismanaged our infrastructure for the past 20 years. We didn't get here overnight. We were not wise enough to understand that if you promote the number 1 beaches in the world, people are going to come here. You knew the traffic was going to come here eventually. We are in between St. Petersburg, Tampa, and Sarasota. We are literally the jump off point for 3 of the largest, fastest growing communities in the state of Florida. We're going to have homes. We need schools. We need roads. We need infrastructure. And with that, you have a couple of ways to pay for it. You can get impact fees from developers, which means developers will keep developing, or you can raise taxes, or you can start gutting the budget at a very primary fundamental level, the administrative state. As a county commissioner, all I can do is look at county commissioner taxes, what we're spending at that level. I can't look at the school board, but I'm working. I don't know if I can say this out loud.
No pressure. Be safe. We don't get you in trouble.
How do I say this? The CFO of Florida, Blaise Golia, has been doing a Doge-style audit of all of the counties, and he has hinted about going into these school boards next, which I think is vital because 50% of your property taxes go to school board administrations. And if you talk to anyone who works in any type of industry whatsoever where there's administration, HR departments, things like this, there are at least 5 administrators to 1 person who is actually working and doing the work. Like, our teachers should be paid more. They should have more PTO, more benefits. They should be taken care of. Instead, we're paying 5 administrators to make sure the red tape is not, cut or crossed along the way. So part of what I'm campaigning on is reducing regulation and getting people back to work without as many restrictions, because we're walking around and putting Nerf bars on everything, and we got it's an hour-long conversation. Basically, the reductive conversation is this: we have way too many dollars going to administrative state. We need to bring dollars back to the actual workers who are getting jobs done. That will open up more jobs, open up more affordable housing, open up more roadway building. That's what we need to focus on.
Yeah, I brought up that issue a bunch of times, and I get a lot of flack from people on the right about the teacher salary thing, because I used to teach, and you have all these administrators or whatever, this bloated bureaucracy above or whatever, and that's sucking up all the funds, and teachers at the ground level can't even get dry erase markers for their blackboard.
This is it.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And the other thing is too, is like, the right or whatever, they want teachers. They don't want, teachers that are pushing, these ideologies and stuff like that. They just want reading, writing, arithmetic, which I also want. But the thing is like, how do you attract a better looking workforce? How do you attract better qualified teachers, teachers that are principled, teachers that are going to do the right thing? And I think salary is a big part of that. I think teachers need to be paid more. It's a tough job. Granted, you have the summers off thing or whatever, but the thing is like, most
teachers work during the summer as well. Most
right.
Teachers have a job during the summer or work summer school.
Right.
So
if you're going to attract like high quality, highly educated, most of them have master's degrees. Most states, like a lot of states, require them to get master's degrees. I think New York is one of them. You're not going to get them in there for $50,000-$60,000 a year. You're just not. Like, it's not like they pay a lot of money for this education and stuff like that. And so for them to be looking at a $50,000-$60,000 a year job or whatever, like you're not going to get the best qualified people in there. And so, I'm all for raising their pay rates, because I think they deserve it. It's a tough job, especially in inner city schools. They deal with a lot of stuff, fights on a daily basis. I taught in a one school, get fights on constantly, like, it's because we had one SRO for the entire school, and then you have 200 gang members in the school. It's really tough, and the teachers have to get involved to break up fights and stuff like that. It's really it's a bad situation.
It is. And it's there are definitely, it's such a multifaceted conversation. It's the teachers unions taking in dues and then again just absorbing all of that money. Not that unions are it's okay. So you've heard the phrase that communism is great on paper, but then you get people hired in to do these things, and it's like, oh, they just keep all the money and shoot all the people who don't want to fall in line. It's kind of the same thing with unions, and not that we should, necessarily break up every single union, but what have the teachers union actually done for the teachers, and not specifically and exclusively just for the administrative state? And that is a question that teachers should be having. There is also AI modeling for schools charter schools in New York City, actually. So I forget which borough it was. It's not Staten. There are 5 boroughs. What are there? There's Long Island, Staten. I'm not from New York.
Queens,
Queens, Bronx. I believe it was the Bronx. So the Bronx brought in charter schools. This must have been probably 10 years ago now. And the charter schools, when they came in and they were working on a like a quasi state funded federal budget, their success rate, their graduation rate was like 10 times higher than the public schools that were there, because it was just a different model. And to say that one basic model works for every single district, every single school zone, I think that's absolutely asinine. Kids need different things. They're growing up in different environments. So to have one model, but all of that also goes down to the teachers need more. The teachers need more ability and power to actually run their classrooms, build plans, develop students based on their individual needs. And we grew up in a society where teachers used to do that. And now they're given a pamphlet and a packet saying, this is what you're teaching, this is what you're doing. And it's meant to streamline, the whole, you take a test, regurgitate information, and now we have a passing grade. This comes back to Bush's, no child left behind, policy that I think was one of the most detrimental things we did to children, because everyone who graduates, you're just watering down what it means to be graduated and educated. So it's a multifaceted problem, but I think one of the larger solutions might be actually incorporating AI teaching for kids. There's a lot of modeling programs that are out there now where it's adaptive learning, where the AI models will actually, I think, are up to 14 different type of learning strategies that kids learn under. And AI can actually capture in real time the child and how they learn, in the process that they learn, and actually adapt a learning process to help them actually understand concepts. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there as well. But, that will also mean a reduction in teachers' jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But that also goes to say, if you are looking to, we all podcast, you watch things. When you want to go listen to information of, I want to learn about this, do you find the person who has 5 views or 5 million views? It's the 5 million views. That is the expert. There are teachers that are experts in teaching classes, and maybe there could be a process where maybe instead of a teacher per classroom, we have 2 teachers' aides, and we have the best person that has navigated to teach, Algebra 1 on video that can be paused. We can do processes between. There are 2 teachers' aides. Now you have 2 teachers in every classroom instead of 1, but we're getting the best teaching, the best outsourcing. So, I think there's a lot of options on the table as far as education is concerned.
Well, your passion is clear, and I love that you come with ideas and suggestions and solutions, right? We love that, instead of just we talk about that also, not just criticizing, but, coming up with ideas and how to make things better. How has the campaign been going for you so far? How has the response been? And has your notoriety helped or hurt in any way?
Well, I've definitely leaned into it. We filed on January 6th because we knew it would make a splash. But free marketing is free marketing. We are at 47 local publications talking about me running. So they've told everyone in the county that I'm running, which is great because local office is all about name recognition. I can't go out to Publix or to breakfast without being stopped and someone shaking my hand saying, we're really glad you're running. We need someone who actually is, stands behind their convictions, is willing to go to prison for them even. And, I hope to not go to prison again over local politics. That would be awful. But, I what I say is actually what I believe. So it's been a really good positive response. We've had lots of petitions signed. We've raised all grassroots dollars. We're not taking PAC money at all. It's all just, $5, $10 donations. So it's been a really good outcome so far.
Have there been any particularly wild reactions, either collecting signatures or going door to door? Any standout moments that you can think of that come to mind?
This Sunday, we got 1 middle finger, which is it's okay.
Just one? That's no big deal.
Just one, which is great, which is fantastic, And did get 1 door slammed in our face. But the majority of people, they commonly agree that local politics is nonpartisan. Like, can you help me get to work 10 minutes faster? The traffic is awful. Like this shouldn't be a Republican Democrat thing. Like, yes, we can find funding to do the things you need to have done, and we need to make sure the funding that we currently have is managed appropriately.
Yeah, I love that. Once again, it's finding the common ground and the things that mean the most, that are important to all of us. These quality of life, humanity, affordability, all these things that we can all relate to and affect and impact all of us. So
yeah, the affordable housing is also a huge issue in our area. So when people hear affordable housing, they think, oh, you're bringing in Section 8s, you're bringing in, the criminals, the Democrats. There's like a bad connotation that comes with it. Affordable housing basically means my wife's a physician, and she has MAs who make, in between $16 and $20 an hour. Affordable housing in Florida, I mean, you live in Florida now. You know what affordable means. It means unaffordable.
It's like everywhere now, pretty much. But yeah.
Yeah. And so like they do need apartments. They do need places to live, because you do need someone checking you into your appointment that's going over your medication list. You do need someone to bag your groceries. You do need someone to collect the carts. You do need people to wait your tables. And a lot of these jobs, like when I was growing up, waiting tables was it was a transitory job. You're not waiting tables until you're 60 years old, right? It's one of your first jobs. You eventually become, the maitre d'. Eventually you run a restaurant, maybe open your own. There was always upward mobility. What I'm seeing now is there is no real upward mobility. And I think that actually may be a symptom of the push for everyone has to go to college to be successful, because we stopped hiring people who actually had workforce experience and started hiring people who had education and $6,000 in debt. So I think one of the things we can really promote is upward mobility and rewarding that in local businesses. Hire within, promote within, expand outwards.
I like it. Well, guys, if you have questions for Adam, please, this is a reminder, put them in the chat. I'm gonna read them. We'll throw them out there. For the parents out there, Adam, I don't know how many kids you have, but it sounds like you're busy. Oh my gosh, 5.
Five sons.
Okay, well, that'll keep you busy. How are you juggling all of this?
I don't sleep mostly. That's not a lie. I get about 3 hours a night. I'm a very active person. If my plate is not full, I'm very unsatisfied, very unhappy. So we keep the same processes. And my kids, they do everything with me. If I'm cooking food, they're cooking food with me. If we're building something, they're building something with me. So it's not like I have my own life separate from them. The campaign, they're knocking doors with me. They're getting out there. They're meeting people. They're in the community. So everything I'm doing, they're doing with me.
Beautiful. I mean, if you're able to function on 3 hours of sleep, more power to you. That's not the recommended amount, but
I may get a cat nap in between like 3 o'clock and 3:45 once a day. Nap. Yeah, sometimes that happens.
Okay. Well, and you said we didn't finish this conversation, but you do jujitsu. I have a hard time saying that.
I do.
Which I love. Tell us about, have you been doing that for a long time, or is it a new thing?
Coming up on 7 years now. Wow. So so I was probably 150 pounds soaking wet when I met my wife. And, we had this conversation about what the premier body looks like on a male. And I realized I was not that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I love my wife dearly. And, anything I can give her, I'm going to give her. So I started working out. I went to the gym. I got in great shape. So jiu-jitsu was a great way to do cardio. I ran a bunch. I did a couple of half marathons. I hated that. I tried to find better cardio. So jiu-jitsu was that thing. So got into that. And jiu-jitsu is such a melting pot. You'll train with a lawyer one round, and then a plumber the next round, and then a convicted felon the next round. I'm the convicted. Yeah. So it's a great place of just people who are just there to hang out and have conversations and occasionally choke each other.
Well, it sounds like it's a win-win, and a lot of different benefits are coming from it, and quite an experience. So I love that. I hope everyone has their own version of that or things like that in their life, because it's important to take care of yourself, have fun, the balance of everything too. So that's awesome.
Yeah, she does it now too. So I was gone probably 3 nights a week, and she's like, "So you're just gonna be gone 3 nights a week?" And I'm like, "Well, you can come if you want." So she also trains now as well. So which is a lot of
How
fun.
is she enjoying it?
She's dangerous.
I was gonna say, do you have to I don't even know if is it. Do you spar? You spar each other, right?
We do. We warm up together, yeah. But there's a huge women's group. It's Gracie Bradenton. So if you're local, come train with us. It's a lot of fun. The women's group has, I think, north of 25 women now that train a couple nights a week, and it's all very self-defense promotion. It's no one wants to be in that position, but you'll be happy if you train and you find yourself in that position.
Fantastic.
There was a study done too. I think I just read this. Out of 100 kids, they sampled 50 and 50 kids that did jujitsu and 50 did not. And they actually showed that the kids that did jujitsu growing up 2 to 3 days a week for a couple of years had better self-control, were slower to anger, slower to react. And I can completely attest to that. I am the most calm person you will ever meet. I don't yell at people. I don't do name calling ever. I mean, Twitter is a different thing. It's kind of the job. But in real life, if you meet me, I'm one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. I'll have a conversation with anyone. But I blame jujitsu almost exclusively for that.
You seem like a very, very nice person, very warm and calm. But I could totally see that as a therapist working with clients. I think it's so important to have ways of getting out, blowing off steam and releases, because people hold on to a lot of that and it builds up and it comes up in terms of like impulse control and emotional regulation. So I can see how that is a great. Boxing's another one, getting out aggressions, blowing off steam, being physically active. So that's great. Shut up and take my money, jiu-jitsu instructor. Insert a little joke. You also have fabulous hair. And in all the pictures I've seen of you, you have fabulous hair. You also, another one of your nicknames was the Immortal Ginger. Is that right?
Yeah. So is your
hair your superpower?
No. So there was a meme that went around, probably 2 years ago. The account's now since banned, but I think it was Illuminati bot was the one it started with. But the sacking of Rome. Have you seen some of these classic art depictions? So the idea was there were people that sacked Rome, and they were walking out with furniture, things like this. And one of them, the Buffalo guy, shaman, Jake. Yeah. So it's actually eerily similar. There is an image that looks very much like Jake that's depicted in art back for the sacking of Rome, and an image looks very close to what I was doing as well, just carrying with one arm out of the building. So people said, history repeats itself. This guy may actually be a vampire. So I did a whole bit that I'm the Immortal Ginger, that actually carrying the Lectern, I actually picked it up, centuries ago, and it made me immortal. And I was just trying to return it on January 6th. I did a whole thread where I'm through history, carrying this thing around. I'm responsible for every tragedy that ever happened and occurred.
Amazing. Okay. Well, yeah, I forgot to show this earlier. So for anyone who missed it, this famous image, but see, with your big smile there too, like not looking violent,
I pictured you as the fun guy at the party, like not having talked to you, not like just seeing you from a distance or whatever. I was like, this guy's fun. Like this guy, he has a sense of humor. Like honestly, like it's terrible what they did to you, but like honestly, like I was like, this dude is somebody I would hang out with 100%.
It's about making lemonade. I mean, look, and I tell everyone the same thing. Regardless of what side you're on, people are going to throw stones. They're going to throw stones. You need to learn how to build towers and walls out of them, right? Anything anyone casts against you, learn how to use it for the good. Learn how to make lemonade. if I were broken at the end of this, if I were someone who, you know, left my wife, left my kids, got divorced, you know, became a crippling alcoholic, you know, delve into drugs and woe is me, they would have won. They would have won. And that's a victory I will not allow them to have. Like the life I had, what's up, Roma? It's good to see you, man. The life that I had before this is the life I have today. And for them to take a single day outside of when they send me to prison away from me is me giving it to them. So they can't have those days. Those days are mine. I am blessed. I have my faith. I have my family. I have my freedom. They can't take that from me. So I'm going to live my life exactly how I lived it before I got here. Just a jovial, happy guy. I got it all.
You have such a great, helpful perspective and approach to things. And I'm a big believer that the way that we think about things, the way, you know, our self-talk, the lens we view it through, how we, you know, frame things makes such a big difference on our mental health and our emotions and our behavior. So I think you have such constructive, healthy thought processes that I think are really beautiful and helpful for other people to hear. So I just appreciate that about you.
I admire you quite a bit. I think the coming to the center is what we actually need. The pendulum, the outliers, the far right, the far left, they've had the microphone for a long time. And I think, how do I say this in a way that's not going to get me to lose every follower that I have? So I think that there are justifications both on the outlier left and the outlier right that exist in vacuums that maybe shouldn't be, you know, broadly promoted, but you definitely have a reason and a point to say the things you're saying on both sides of things. And you didn't get there overnight, right? The pendulum keeps going faster and faster, more momentum. And that's not how a pendulum is supposed to work. A pendulum is supposed to hit center at some point. And a pendulum is only ever pushed because we want to see the consequences of a pendulum being pushed, right? I think the gravity, the center pole that I think most people are wanting is, I want to get back to the 90s at the heart of me, you know, and we may never get there again. I pray for my kids, we do. But in the 90s, when we talked about racism, I mean, I don't remember racism even being a thing in the 90s. Like we all just kind of existed, you know. We all went to the same movies, the same stores. It wasn't a thing where I grew up in. And Manatee County, like we're pretty well blended, you know. And I guess what I'm trying to get to is that the what you're doing, what I'm trying to do, the pull back to center is actually how we heal. And talking about the outlier strategies, the left and right, is what's actually pulling us apart. Because every time you have that inertia pulling left and right, you are straining that center ground that actually codifies us and makes us a good country. So I encourage people, like, you can have your differences, have your conversations, but make them constructive, make them for a point. Don't just make them to have a gotcha moment. Just make them to, you know, to prove yourself right. Because I learn things every single day that I didn't know by talking to everyone. So I encourage that same behavior.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I really appreciate that. It just, I was in this place where I'm just finding, you know, and it's causing a lot of pushback and a lot of backlash because people are like, oh, and again, it has to do with this whole lumping things and trying to like put labels and boxes around things. So now, because I want to have conversations and the intentions are good, it's to get us to a better place where we need to talk, and it should be okay, right? Like classic old school liberal kind of stuff where we can disagree, but, you know, still have a beer together. Like we can all, it's not this amped up aggression and, you know, you have to agree about every single thing or you're evil. So yeah, there's a lot of people misinterpreting. So they're jumping to this, no, you're MAGA now. Now, you know, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist. It's like, for what? Asking questions and wanting to, I just really do think it's important for us to get to a better place to be able to talk and understand where each other are coming from. And you can have that conversation and still not agree, but it's important to have it rather than just the resisting and the nasty and the nastiness and name calling. I'm just trying to be open and actively listen. And it's really about your approach, you know?
Well, I think we've confused. Starting from the '90s, there was this push of identity, right? My identity is it's A, B, and C, and then what we did is we created these kind of these microcosms of my identity is exclusively one thing, which created these very like small subsects, right? Of I am this one thing, I can only ever be this one thing, and what that did is it created an urgency to belong to something, one thing, and I think it was a giant disservice because we talk about the LGBTQIA2 plus community, right? I had a neighbors, I called them my gabers. We talked about this, and I was like, listen, like I don't care what you do in the sanctity of your home, but not everything you do is gay. Like you go grocery shopping, you don't go grocery shopping gay. You have a job, you don't have a job gay. Like there's so much more to you than one thing. And with the identity politics, we've said that we want to be a people that belong to something instead of being something. Like I am me. I have my own opinions. I am my own person. I am multifaceted. It's Gestalt theory is what it is. You know Gestalt theory, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. We're the sum of all of our things. We are not one thing. We're the sum of all of our things. So to isolate yourself I have to belong to either the left or the right, or to this group or to that group. It is a disservice to everything else about you that actually makes you unique and an individual. So selling out to one side or the other, I think is a detriment to your person, to the core of you. And it's why I think a lot of people are dealing with so much cognitive dissonance, because they're accepting things that they don't actually believe in.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing things they don't actually believe in. Because if they don't accept these things, they don't patriot these things and promote these things, they will no longer belong. So belong to yourself first, be yourself first, fuck everything else, just be you. Figure out the rest in post. You'll find out who your friends are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Hannah, great point. People are plagued with binary thinking. Yeah. No, I love that. And I couldn't agree more. I want to make sure and give you a chance to promote. Is your book out or your book is coming?
My book is officially out. It is, yes.
All right, tell the people where they can find it.
It is on my website, unlicensedfurnituremovers.com, which I thought was a funny name.
Absolutely.
There's my book's there. You can buy it. I will sign it if you write a note, say, hey, sign this for me. I'll personalize it as well. We got things like hats and lapel pins, things like that. But it covers some gaps. It does the travel. It's basically a tax write-off at this point, which is nice. But the campaign's actually what I'm really promoting. We need people in office that actually just care about their backyards and not about politics. That's what I'm doing. So if you feel like supporting my campaign, it is it's just my website. So that's actually a great question. I was approached to have my book published, but if my book were published, they would have things like ghostwriters. They would change things. They would change the story. I believe that my book is a historical document. It is my story. It is my words. It is how I feel. It's what I saw. It's what I experienced. And for anyone to write any other words that aren't my words would be to rewrite history. So my book is exclusively available on our website.
Fantastic. But yeah, you were saying about the campaign. How can people support or help you? Anything else you want to say about that?
Yes, the campaign is voteadamjohnson.com. We are not taking PAC money. We are not taking special interest money. We are doing small dollar donations because I want to be an example of whether you like me or don't like me, we can make good changes in our backyards. And it takes more than just complaining online. It takes showing up every single day, willing to put yourself out there. I mean, my safety is on the line every time I go out and do public events. But, I believe that my kid's future, I believe that my backyard is worth it. So we're going to keep doing it.
Okay, now I know I've brought it up. This soup and sandwich aficionado. I need to know more. And what's the best pairing? What's your favorite pairing of this soup sandwich?
Ooh, oh man. So I was I chefed for a couple of years. I worked under a guy
Oh,
who was trained under Emeril Lagasse, so I have some good training under him. Great guy. So when I wooed my wife over, it was definitely through food. It was definitely through food. But there was a comment that happened about a year ago that said, last meal, what would it be on an island? Only one thing. And for me, it's always a soup and a sandwich. You can't beat it. Like steak's always good. Steak's always good. Bowl of cereal's good. But soup and a sandwich, it's such a good pairing. So for me, it was probably the turkey, apple, and brie on sourdough. And I believed we did it with a scratch minestrone soup.
yum. Now I'm hungry, everyone. Yeah. Everyone's hungry. No, I think it's a good skill to have. I think you will. Yeah. Yeah. You like to cook, right, Jay?
Yeah, I do. I have to cook because I'm a single parent. I raised my teenagers by myself, but it all makes sense now. There's a guy in my neighborhood who has this wife she doesn't even look real. She's so pretty or whatever. Well, he's a chef. So
That's
now
it.
I see where I went wrong. Honestly, like my career choice is horrible. So
Yeah, the best thing you can get your girlfriend for Valentine's Day, anniversaries, birthdays, get her a loaf of bread. She doesn't want chocolate. Make a scratch sourdough, heat it up, a little bit of butter, good to go.
Yeah.
She
Do you
wants
support
bread.
that, Madeline?
Oh yeah, carbs, bread, donuts, noodles. Like I'm still like eating buttered noodles. What are you talking about? Yeah.
We started making pho the past couple of weeks.
Fine.
And the kids are making it with us. But again, anything I'm doing, the kids are doing. So if we're making new recipes, we're cooking, the kids are there. Because again, we told them, it's dating is hard, especially if you're a young kid these days. It's very, very difficult to find people, right? So I tell my
dating
kids,
is hard across the spectrum. Like
yeah,
all ages.
yeah. Well, with the advent of social media apps and dating apps and stuff, I think it's actually done a disservice. People should go out and just meet people in real life. I love Angela. I love watching you go out and dance. Like that's a great place to meet people. Go meet people. It's a good thing to do. Go meet real people. But I tell my kids, you need to be multifaceted, right? Don't be the guy who I went to work 40 hours a week. No. You should know how to do laundry. You should know how to build things. You should know how to cook things. Be the premier person, right? Because if you're asking to find that person who is that premier person, you should be offering the same thing in return.
That's a great point. I love it. Hannah, this is a great suggestion. So actually, you should just reply to the stream tweet with your link afterwards, and then everyone can find it. So we'll make sure and do that so that everyone has an easy way to find it. Okay, I almost forgot to do this, but someone we talk about quite a bit, I came across a picture of you together.
Oh, God.
And I must know the backstory. It is John Fetterman.
Yes.
John Fetterman. I need the story here for sure. We need to know.
Right. So this was actually during inauguration week up in DC. And I was with my wife, and it's very cold outside. You can't tell because John was not cold at all. But he's from Pennsylvania. So I saw him in Starbucks, and I said, John, I'm a big fan of yours. I think John has made a handful of good decisions across the past couple of years.
Yeah.
I think he's made a couple of good maneuvers. I like that he's on board with the SAVE Act. That's fantastic. I think you give accolades where they're due, right? But you also need to be able to drag people who are on your side, who are doing the wrong thing as well. So stay consistent. So I saw John. I said, John, would you get a photo with me? I'm a big fan of what you're doing. I love your redemption arc. Let's get a photo. So he took a photo with me. Now, to be fair, he had no idea who I was. So we take this photo, and I tell my wife, holy shit, John Fetterman just took a photo with me. This is going to be all for him. I kind of feel bad, but I'm also going to post it. So we leave the Starbucks, and I'm watching John through the window, and I see John pick up his phone and do this. And put the phone down. And, I didn't see his phone, but I'm assuming it's exactly what I think it was about. And he got a lot of hate for that photo, like a ton of hate for that photo. People were calling for him to resign for his position, but, shouldn't politicians take photos with everyone? Or don't they represent the entire district they came from?
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I can relate. But John and I are like in the same boat right now. I feel like a lot of, what is happening with him resonates with me. And I'm also getting canceled for these, but it's like, so same, right? Having people on the podcast, taking pictures with people, it's having conversation. I went to Moms for Liberty. I got a bunch of shit for that, but like, I don't care, because to me it's important and I know why I'm doing it, and the intentions are good. And there's a lot of ground being made, a lot of progress being made, in my opinion, by doing things. So I think it is ridiculous.
Olive branches are pivotal to coming back to a country where we can have some type of normalcy. And I actually respect what you're doing when you, I know when you said you were having a podcast, I think I messaged you immediately, like, I would love to come on. I was like right on board, like, we should do a podcast together. I want to talk to everyone, but more importantly, I want to listen to everyone, because I don't know everything. People ask me how I got through things. I think my biggest superpower is I will tell.
Oh no. Well, I don't know.
Lose him?
I know it's just Adam, I guess.
He's back. Have that mindset, we'd be in a better place. I'm here.
Sorry, something weird, a weird glitch happened for a moment. I don't know, but you're back. So, but I mean, absolutely, and I appreciate that. I'm of the same mind. I really don't get the hate and the aggression of, oh, I'm unfollowing you. I'm done with you because you took a picture with this, but you don't even know what we talked about. You have no idea what our conversation was. So yeah,
I've had people on the right, like very large right wing influencers, unfollow me and block me because I've had what I think to be very, very good opinions, but they're mine, so I'm biased.
But no, I hear you, because we talk about these echo chambers, and you have to like agree with all the bullet points. You can't ask any questions, and so there's all that going on.
Well, I'm not campaigning for the presidency or for a congressional run. I'm not campaigning for anyone. I'm campaigning for my children's future. I'm campaigning for my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren that, I may never meet, because it's about them. It's not about me. I'm 41 years old, and, I want to leave this place better than the condition that I found it. I want to be the first generation that does that. And that means having conversations with everyone. That means finding out a way to make this work. Because I think what we could all agree is like, whatever has been happening has not been working, because we keep going further left and further right every single time. And all that's going to do is draw a divide between all of us. I don't want civil war. I don't want, and I did say a couple of weeks ago, like, we are actually at war. We are. There are people who want to see me murdered. There are people who want to see me in prison for a misdemeanor crime. And I'm sorry, these people, I would love to have a real conversation with them. I would love to talk to them and find some common ground with them, but they don't want that with me. They have no desire that with me.
Yeah, it's true. And that is the problem, because they're so sure that they're right. It's a lot of I'm experiencing that with a lot of people, where they're on this soapbox, or they have this ego, or they just think that they're right about everything. So they won't even listen to another perspective or to the other side. And just assume that they know when they really don't know. So that's why I'm so thankful for you and for everyone, coming on and having these conversations, because I really do think it's eye-opening for the people that are willing to listen and be involved in these conversations. We've talked about this before too. A lot of people on the left, there's people like Bill Maher who's trying to get people, liberals, Democrats, on his podcast on his shows and they won't come on. It's like, you're not helping anything by, they just refuse to even, sit down with someone. But
they're basically drawing lines in the sand, and it's I don't know. I think politics should be an open table. I think we should break bread. I think we should discuss ideas. There is this analogy of, there is a two men walk into a field, and there's a fence that's broken down, kind of dilapidated, falling apart. One man says, this fence should be completely torn down because it's broken down, it's dilapidated, shouldn't even be here. Obviously, it serves no purpose. The other man says, well, the fence was obviously built for a reason. Maybe we should find out why it was built and maybe restore parts of it or all of it, right? And I think we're there right now. We're celebrating our 250th year anniversary as our nation, and there are fences that have existed a long time, and there are guidelines and perimeters of those fences that have existed for very good reasons. And I think it may be time to revisit a handful of those places, but that doesn't mean that it has to be the exact perimeter that was drawn 250 years ago. And that's not to say the Constitution needs to be worked or revamped, but we are a different people. We are dealing with different things these days. So we should have a conversation about fences and rebuilding them and restructuring them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. SJ said, keep talking to everyone. We shall, SJ, we shall. And Hannah wants to know your thoughts on Nicki, meaning Nicki Minaj. Do you have thoughts on Nicki and her support of President Trump?
I don't actually. I listen to
she's a big Nicki fan, which is called a barb, in case you didn't know that.
I'm a little neurotic when it comes to music. I find one band and listen to them for 5 years, and then I find another band and listen to them for 5 years. So I don't have a lot of opinions. I know I know she's been on that the Trump train, as it were, and I'm glad there are a handful of celebrities and musicians that are coming out in support of what I think are pretty populist ideas. So I'm excited to see some of that. That is good.
All right. Well, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I think the last question is just random. I mean, weirdest or funniest DM that or request that you've gotten since your internet fame.
Oh,
does anything jump out at you? There's probably been a lot.
There's so many, excluding all of the death threats.
Ugh. Yeah. Please exclude those.
Some guy sent me a very long gay porn video. I'm pretty sure he shot himself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I did learn in that day, I was new to Twitter, if it has a filter on it, you should never click play. This is what I learned across 5 seconds that will stick with me forever. I'm like, oh,
yep,
that'll be with me forever. So thanks for that, guy. Never
do deep dives in your DMs either.
Yeah, some of them are fun. some of them are fun. My favorite ones are where they spell everything correctly, but then you quote tweet them spelling it incorrectly. You can actually like scribble out the words and then be like, "Hey, this guy can't spell."
That is fun. Yeah. I love it. Well, sorry, Madeline. I don't know if you had any questions.
No, you're good. I think we covered it.
But this has been awesome. I am so glad that you joined us tonight, Adam. Thank you so much. Is there any last shout outs, promos? I mean, we'll post it under the stream also so people can find your book and campaign, where they can follow you on X.
You can follow me on Twitter. It's at Lectern Leader. That's about it. Shout out to my chat group that's been there since day one, the Thunderdome. It is very much that.
Amazing. Well, yeah. Again, I think this is so cool because it's so nice to see who you are, just via this whole interaction and conversation. I feel like it really speaks to, I think the warmth and the authenticity and the positivity and, the passion just radiates and shines through the screen. And for everyone who thinks that they have their minds made up about you, I hope that they watch this, or they are watching. And and people, open their minds and get to know the real you and not what they think, whatever they're judging or the assumptions that they're coming to.
And if you have questions, I mean, I will answer them to the best of my ability. Sometimes they come in like 300 at a time, so I'll do my best to answer them. But ask me questions. I don't mind. I'll answer them.
That's nice. I love that. And Hannah said, wish this was a Thursday, because Hannah is on the panel on Thursdays. So she thinks she wishes she got to be on with you, but it was awesome to listen in. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate you so much. Everybody show Adam all the love, follow, support, buy his book, all that jazz. Adam, thank you so much for your time tonight. We'll be in touch, I hope. Hopefully we can cross paths in Florida.
Oh, of course. If we're in Florida, I mean, we're probably at least 2 hours away. But, we'll make it work.
I'm in Central, so we're not too far off.
Oh, beautiful. I'll be in Orlando on Friday and at the Hard Rock on Saturday. So I'll be in Central-ish. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we'll be in touch. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Keep doing you and being you. You rock. We'll talk soon. Thank you so much, Adam. Bye. Good night. All right. Thanks, panel.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course. So I know, Jay, you have an exciting show tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, right?
Yep. I have Puddin, who is Petty Crocker on TikTok, massive TikTok account. You basically, like, you've seen her if you're on any type of social media. She's everywhere. So I'm excited about that. Excited to have her. Madeline's hosting with me, so should be a good show.
Fun stuff, Back at it.
Back at it, yeah. Well, I've been sick, so I haven't been sick since 2019, and I broke the streak last Thursday. I've been sick as crap. So
oh no.
I'm actually not over it yet, but I'm starting to get over it. But so like hadn't been like 7 years, like I didn't get sick, like, and then now it just hit me. So
well, you had a good run.
Yeah, no, I really did.
Years of not being sick is good, but it must feel really crappy right now.
I'm good. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I literally, this is the first time in 7 years. It's crazy.
Oh man. But you're on the up and up, like you're on the mend, getting better.
I'm good.
I wouldn't have known. You never told me until right now. So
yeah,
I had no idea.
Working last weekend was rough, but I'm good now. So I hit the gym today. I was sweating like crazy. So
sweat it out. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. Yeah. So everybody tune in to the show with Jay and Madeline tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Follow these guys on all the socials. Madeline, anything else you want to shout out or?
No, I've been sick too. Just going back.
No.
I know it's been I've been super sick. I think I was supposed to go before Jay got sick. I was supposed to go on a show and I couldn't. It's been that season, especially with traveling and all the campaigns. I've been on the ground a lot in different places. There's a lot of early voting starting. So be watching all of midterms and what's going on, because guys, midterms is so important. And there are a lot of races and people that depend on our votes. So
yeah, I'm probably live streaming a congressional debate in 1st District, Georgia too on Thursday. I got to get permission though, but I think I'm going to. So I'll be live streaming that too. Hopefully it starts a trend, because other people can just show up and do this at their, whatever their congressional candidates, governor, whatever the case may be. You can just show up with a cell phone. As long as they allow you to, you can live stream it. And so people can actually hear from the people that maybe they wouldn't be able to. So hopefully it starts a trend.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome. It's very important. So I love that you're doing that. I hope you're able to.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Thank you guys so much. I always love seeing you, and I appreciate you for being here. Yeah. Have a great show tomorrow night. I'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Good night. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. It was really, really nice. Once again, I love having guests and hearing more about their story, their journey, because once again, like, we might think we know someone based on social media, based on the little information we have. I didn't know a lot of this about Adam. And I think it was just really nice. I think it just brings people closer together, shows us that we have a lot more in common than we might think, helps us think outside the box and avoid this whole, as we said, we've called it a lot of things: binary thinking, black and white thinking, lumping people into categories, this all or nothing kind of stuff. Again, it's way more complex, and people are way more complex than that. So I appreciate you guys all being here and participating and contributing and joining in the conversation, asking questions, giving feedback. To me, this is really meaningful and again, well-intentioned to hopefully get us to a better place where, we can heal and hopefully makes things better by bridging gaps, building relationships. And again, couldn't do it without you, couldn't do it without the amazing panel. Adam, mad thanks to my special guest and the panel as well, Jay and Madeline. You guys all are amazing. Audience, I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for the support. Thank you for having my back and for being here and supporting. I feel the love. I really, really appreciate and value you. And appreciate you continuing to come in. Our next stream will be Thursday, and I'm really excited about that show as well. Hannah will be here, and we'll have Chrissy Mayer, who is awesome and so funny. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You don't want to miss it. This is on Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Join Chrissy and Hannah and I. We will have lots of fun banter. We need more laughter and smiling in our lives, right? There really can't have enough. So join us. It'll be a lot of fun. Let's have some fun together this Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern with Chrissy and Hannah. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I can't wait either, Hannah. It's going to be lit. It's going to be so much fun. If you guys haven't already, please subscribe over on YouTube. Would really, really appreciate it. And again, thank you all so much. All the love. Stay bold, stay beautiful. And we'll see you on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, guys, so much. Hope you have a great rest of your night and week. And much love.